My teammates in Philadelphia, from Troy Vincent to Brian Dawkins to Donovan McNabb, Jeff Thomason, like people I love, they would ask me about my faith. I remember specifically before the NFC Championship game reading in the scriptures where God's saying, all these things will be for your experience and for your good.
Yeah.
It's not going to be easy. And I remember just thinking, tomorrow, my life will be different. We'll either be going to the Super Bowl and my life will be different, or we're going home.
Welcome to the series Fourth Down in Faith, where football, faith, and life's biggest moments come together. I'm your host, Andrew, and I'm here with my brothers Isaiah, Maurice, Will, and Crispin. And on this show, we explore the journeys of athletes, coaches, leaders who balance the pressures of competition with their commitment to Christ. Whether it's facing a fourth and goal moment in the game or in life, we talk about how gospel principles, faith, perseverance, and eternal perspective help us push through adversity. If you love sports, stories, and resilience, the power of faith, you're in the right place. This is Fourth Down in Faith. Our guest today is a man whose life is rooted in faith, family, and perseverance. He's married to Michelle Fellows, a former All-American player at BYU, who, according to Chad, is without a doubt the best athlete in the family. Wow. Does that say a lot about you? Together, they have 7 incredible children, very tall children, and they are now proud grandparents to 4 even taller grandchildren.
Wow. Here we go.
Chad's journey has been nothing short of remarkable. He served as a full-time mission for the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints in Taichung, Taiwan. Did I say it right?
You can say it any way you want.
There you go.
An experience that shaped his faith and perspective on life. After returning home, he walked on at BYU on the football team, where his talent and hard work eventually led him to the NFL. Despite going undrafted, Chad made the Philadelphia Eagles roster as a free agent, launching a 9-year NFL career with both the Eagles and the St. Louis Rams. He was selected into the Pro Bowl 3 times and played a key role in helping the Eagles reach the Super Bowl, catching 2 touchdowns in the NFC Championship game. We got to talk about that. Beyond football, Chad has traveled the world representing the NFL as an ambassador in China, Thailand, Taiwan, Singapore, Korea, Hawaii, and Tanzania. He also took on the challenge of summiting Mount Kilimanjaro alongside 4 wounded warriors, former NFL head coach Jeff Fisher and Super Bowl champion Ted Rushi. In 2009, Chad shared his journey and the wisdom he's gained in his book, Surround Yourself with Greatness, published by Desert Book. Today, he continues to inspire and uplift others as his role as an associate athletic director for development at BYU, helping to strengthen and support the university's athletic programs. We're honored to have you here today.
Thank you.
Please welcome Chad Lewis.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Hey,
we need to clap for her.
I'm great to be here.
Need all that.
Well, awesome, man. We honestly, we really appreciate you for coming in here. Before we get into like the football aspect and the sports aspect, can you just give us a little bit of your experience growing up in your childhood and those impacts and those things that have taught you to where the man you are today?
Yeah, I grew up with 4 brothers, so 5 Lewis boys. My dad was a physician, delivered babies, obstetrician. Grew up in Orem, Utah.
Okay.
And my mom was always involved in PTA. So she was always around the school helping us. And then she got into the school board. Mm-hmm. And so she really cared about what was happening in the schools and what we were doing. My dad, as well as being a doctor, he was also the scoutmaster. So we were going on campouts once a month.
You
Absolutely.
been an Eagle Scout like 14?
I was an Eagle Scout, 14, 15. I can't remember how old, but
Yeah, sounds about right.
the fact that he was a scoutmaster and he wanted to do adventurous stuff meant that once a month I was hanging out with my dad, going on a camp out. And so I saw him I just saw him in a really cool way.
Yeah.
You know, I never hated my dad. I never bucked against him. I just thought, man, my dad he's legit.
Yeah.
He can hike anything. He can do anything. And I knew he loved me and my brothers. And so it was cool. And I knew for sure my mom loved me too.
Oh, absolutely. That's what's up.
When I was 14, 15 and I wasn't growing, I was 6 foot 140 as a junior in high school, and I'm like, man, I'm tiny. My mom was like, no, but you can run. You have so many gifts. And I was like, I needed all the help I could get, all the confidence, the support. She definitely was that for me. really cool. And then my body started to grow later. But I felt like I had the coolest growing up years ever. Running with my brothers, had a lot of friends, doing a lot of fun stuff. The trouble we got in was, throwing water balloons.
Good trouble.
Yeah, it was
Good trouble. Good trouble. Absolutely.
It was okay. I loved playing sports. Football was always my favorite. My brother, Mike, got a scholarship to play at the University of Utah when I was in high school. And I couldn't believe that I had a brother playing college football.
Wow.
That's
It was
crazy.
so
That
sweet.
would be so cool. Yeah.
So it was with Fossil, and then it was McBride. And so as I was growing up, they recruited me a little bit, but I was so small. They're like, you need to go.
Right. Right.
And
It's a benefit of BYU, right?
that's right. As Jim Fossil was leaving Utah and they replaced him with McBride, Fossil talked to Lavelle and he's like, hey, you need to keep your eye on Mike Lewis's little brother. Because I can tell he's going to grow. He's going to have a frame at some point, and he's a good athlete. And when I ended up years later walking on to the BYU football team, I'm standing next to Lavelle in a scrimmage. And Lavelle looks at me. He's like, oh, wait a minute. Your brother's Mike. I'm like, yeah. He's like, Jim Fossil told me to watch out for you.
There we go.
He said, shows you what a good recruiter I am. I
Right.
forgot all about it. Here you are anyway. And it was a really funny moment. And so I had an incredible growing up years. I had the best friends ever. And then it was going on a mission to Taiwan that changed who I am and like where I'm going and my energy pointing in a great direction. And that had such a profound impact on my life in sports, in my marriage, in profession, in every way. It was really cool.
Awesome. I kind of want to hit on that. So a lot of us, I think when we started our mission, that was kind of like a pivot point for our lives. It was kind of like that anchor. It was like, okay, this is some of the most spiritual experiences I'm having, and it kind of sets the tone for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
How did that experience of those experiences on your mission, how did that set the tone when you're joining or getting into the NFL, into that spotlight? How did that help you?
I always had a lot of energy and a lot of enthusiasm for life, but it was being a missionary that helped me focus how hard I needed to work. And, when the Lord says, I want you to be a missionary, but here's how I want you to do it. I want you to do it by giving your heart, your might, your mind, all your soul.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you want to do it, I will be with you. I'll walk with you. I'll stand by you. I will send my angels to be around you.
Absolutely.
But you gotta go in with heart and soul.
Right.
And so when I finally was able to tap into that, I saw the Lord's miracles in my life. I mean, learning Mandarin Chinese was freaky for me. That was hard.
Oh my gosh, I
And
can
when it
only
started
imagine.
coming out of my mouth, I was like, wow,
All
this is
the
like
different
real. These
language.
people understand this language.
Yeah.
And I learned how to love people totally different than me. That was really amazing. I learned for the first time in my life to worry about other people. And I had a mission president, Kent Watson. He was an accountant with Price Waterhouse, who was just a tremendous leader and a motivator. And then the missionary companions I was with, from Elder Lamb to Elder Harmer to whoever, these guys shaped my life and inspired me that when I came home, I wanted to rip it. I didn't want to just let it all die.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so that helped me like springboard me into life in a way that I could not have otherwise. I needed that.
Right.
I needed to grow up. I needed challenges that were so hard they buckled me to my knees. And I had to pray for the gift of tongues to be able to speak that language and to eat that food and to handle a culture that was so radically different. And the Lord made it all work. And so when I think of Moses standing at the Red Sea, and Joseph Smith talks about that being the spirit of revelation that helped him crack the Red Sea. It was a miracle, but why does the Lord use that experience and that miracle as revelation. I don't know. It's like, I think he wants us to learn a lot about seeking his will in our lives.
Yes.
And we all have families, we have occupations. We are Moses. We're standing at the Red Sea with our family saying, all my kids need help. I need help. Mm-hmm. I want to make sure I'm going in the right direction. And you got Pharaoh coming behind you. Mm-hmm. That's the world. They want to destroy all of us. Right. And you got an impossible decision in front of you. And you have the Lord saying, just trust me. Mm-hmm. Well, I really learned from my mission that if we do really just trust him and get on our knees and say, help me through this, I can't see. And he has the ability to say, put that staff into that water and start walking. And then Moses probably said, are you sure? Right. And then
facts.
And then this miracle happens where he saves his family.
Yeah.
He saves his people. And for the last 4,000 years, we've been talking about this miraculous experience that Heavenly Father and Jesus Christ want every one of us on the earth to have for our own families and lives. Right. It's impossible to move forward without that kind of help. Yes. I don't know how else to say it, but that was what my mission did for me. It just changed my life.
Wow. Yeah. On that note, for somebody who, like an athlete who's deciding whether to go on a mission or just play sports and forego the mission, what advice would you have for that person?
Yeah, that's a great question. Everyone's different. Everyone has different gifts, talents. They also have different challenges and anxieties. I want to encourage everyone to go on a mission, but every person is so different. Steve Young's a good friend of mine, and we've talked about it through the years a bunch of times. Yeah. I think he would have loved to have gone on a mission. He said it a million times at firesides or other things. He chose, to play football, and in his case, look what it did. Yeah. Like, look at what he did with the platform that he had. Mm-hmm. He's a guy that he's always talked about his own anxiety. Mm-hmm. And sometimes it was crippling and, make him throw up. And I just feel like he did the most he could with his life and his talents and his skills and his family and his trusted relationships. And I feel the same way about mine, that because I went on a mission, the Lord changed my life. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And I was able to see him and grow close to him and have like this desire to want to be with him and fight with him forever. I feel like the war in heaven still rages. Mm-hmm. And so I think that reason more than any is why I would encourage everyone to go on a mission. Mm-hmm. It's going to be hard. What else are you going to do? You're either going to go into the military or school or mission. Yeah. Every one of them is going to be really challenging. Mm-hmm. Right. But a mission is for God. Like, you get a chance to be close to the creator of the universe. Absolutely. In a way where you're on his front lines. Mm. You're standing with him, and with that comes amazing promises from him that he will never forget.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm. And he promises that he will stand by you for the rest of your life. Who doesn't need that? And so, yeah, it's daunting, it's challenging, and there's a million shiny objects around you. But as soon as you step forward with faith and say, okay, I'll go learn Chinese.
Yeah.
Or I'll go to New Jersey. Mm-hmm. I've been there.
Rough.
I don't know if you had to pack heat or not, but so When with faith you walk forward and say, shoot, I don't want to leave my family for 2 years. I don't want to leave my friends. I really like listening to the music I listen to, but shoot, I'll put it over there. Going into the MTC was so hard to leave my family. My son just went to Tucson this week.
Oh, wow.
So he's there for this first couple days. And I know he's feeling homesick like I was. And if he wasn't, I'd feel bad because he's like, see ya.
I'm out of here.
But he
Waiting
loves
for
his
this day.
family, his brothers and sisters, his mom and dad. And the fact that the Lord asked us to do something like that, whoa, for 2 years.
Yeah.
And when we went, it was like, don't talk to your family unless it's Christmas or Mother's Day.
Mother's Day. Yeah.
And people outside us are like, now you guys keep talking about families, but you can't talk to yours? That's like a cult. Yeah, it's weird. And we're saying, I get that's what it looks like. But it's our faith in Christ and our desire to do what he wants us to do. And we're willing to trust him in a way that's like, it's putting it all on the table.
Absolutely.
Well, look at all of our lives. He definitely knows what's best for us better than we know what's best for us. And so moving forward, I would like to do that. Like, Heavenly Father, if you want me to go this way, I'm willing to go. Or if he's not going to tell me, I'll march that way and just ask him, hey, please let me know I'm going in the right direction.
Yeah.
And sometimes it feels like standing in front of the Red Sea, like, I'm not sure, but let's go.
Yeah.
So it was a really good experience.
Yeah, I think that's the thing about missions is that it literally, you feel like you're standing at the edge of that water. Like, I think every single one of us has sat in the MTC and like, am I really about to do this? You're just staring at your bunk, looking up, and you're like,
Yeah.
oh my gosh, I can't go back. There's no turning back. It's too late. You know?
It's too late now.
I'm getting on the bus, going to the airport. Crap, man.
It's too late now.
I look back at it and I'm like, man, I wouldn't trade it for the world. You know? It was the hardest, but the best thing I've ever done for my life, you know? And I know there's so many youth out there that are, you know, it's becoming more of a stigma to go on a mission. It's kind of scary and that's understandable. But I feel like when we are scared, that's where we get to develop our faith. We get to rely on our Father, not on our own stuff. And so it just humbles us and it teaches us principles for the rest of our life, you know?
Yeah. Well, the thing about a mission that I absolutely love and that I think people sometimes don't think about when it comes to the necessity to serve a mission, because my wife is one of those that felt like a mission wasn't for her. When it came up as like, do you want to serve a mission? Do you want to continue in college? She already knew off the jump, I don't want to go serve a mission. That's not necessarily for me. And so naturally those conversations come up with our kids on when it gets to that point. Are we going to push mission, or are we just going to let that just develop within them? And I usually say that I definitely want to encourage mission to all of them, all five. I have 2 daughters and 3 sons, and I would push it for all 5. And the reason why is because I think now more than ever, what a mission does for anybody that chooses to serve one, whether in any faith, if you choose to serve a mission or go on a mission trip, a fellowship trip, a mission is what we call in our church as well. If you choose to go serve the Lord in that way, where you go somewhere you're not familiar with to love and serve the people of whatever place you've gone to, you're learning how to, like Chad said, love somebody so radically different than you. What a mission does for us is it teaches us to go outside of our comfort zone, trust God, and love your brothers and sisters. The whole point of it is to go and serve. We go for 2 years and we choose to carve that time out of our life and say, you know what, Lord, I'm going to go where you want me to go. I will say what you tell me to say. I will love all these people and I will serve to the fullest of my capacity. And I am offering myself up to be your tool. Whatever you need me to do, I will do it. And that teaches us how to love one another. And unfortunately, sometimes we come back off our mission and we forget that.
Yeah.
But there's lessons in there that if you go and you serve and you trust God, shape your life moving forward and how you can interact with others. And now more than ever, especially with the tumultuous times that we now live in politically or however else, I see a need more than ever for the people to have that skill set, learn how to love someone who's not you.
Yeah.
And to me, nothing does that better than serving a mission. So with that, I'm really grateful that you shared that experience, Chad. And I'm really curious because with you playing in the NFL and getting to the heights as far as your professional athletic career as you've gotten, have you ever come through different times where it was hard to mix your faith with your lifestyle? And in those times, if they ever happened, how did you handle that?
Yeah, great question. Because the NFL locker room is nothing like a mission.
But
I had locker rooms weren't like that either. I didn't go to BYU, so my college locker room was the furthest thing from my missionary experience. But
that's right. Facts. And you have to earn the respect and trust of your teammates. You can't go in a locker room and say, "You guys should not be drinking alcohol." Because your teammates will look at you like, "Boy, what are you doing here?" I don't care who you are. I don't care how good you are. You got to go.
Right.
My teammates in Philadelphia, from Troy Vincent to Brian Dawkins to Donovan McNabb, Jeff Thomason, like people I love, they would ask me about my faith. And I remember having a discussion with Troy Vincent. He was a defensive back. He's now the vice president of the NFL. And Troy grew up in Trenton, New Jersey, super tough.
That's my first area.
He's a fighter. He's a first-round draft pick from Wisconsin. And he was looking at Hugh Douglas, my teammate. We were going to Corey Stringer's funeral, who played for the Vikings, played for Ohio State, died in training camp. There were 4 of us going to his funeral. And I brought my scriptures with me as my big quad.
Yeah.
And Hugh Douglas was super funny. He's our defensive end. He's like, "Chad, what in the world is that big, huge book?" And I was like, "Bro, it's my scriptures." He's like, "I got the Bible, but it's not that big."
You got 15 font.
Well, look, it's got the book. It's got the Bible, the Book of Mormon, the Pearl of Great Price, and the Doctrine and Covenants. And Troy Vincent was there, and he's like, "Yeah, I've heard about the Book of Mormon. I don't know about the other 2. And I don't know everything that you believe. But I know enough to say that I'm not going to put God in a box and tell him that he can't do something." And he looked at me with this amazing friendship, wisdom, and respect, and was just like, and he was like, "That's a big book, bro." So talking a little bit of faith with my teammates, like Brian Dawkins would lead us in prayer each week.
Okay.
He was the most passionate human being that's I think has ever played in the NFL. When he would tackle people, he tried to jump through their neck and take their head off.
Yes.
And
his highlights are like I to this day will go watch his highlights.
Yeah.
He was
Give you goosebumps, bro.
He had his own personal, demons of depression or other stuff that he had to battle through and fight through, and he did that through faith. And he became this amazing, faithful man.
Yeah.
That would lead our team in prayer. And he was reserved. He stayed to himself, but he was also a leader at the same time.
Yeah.
And then when he got on the field, there were 21 of us that were saying, 21 people to play. I'll go where you're going, bro. You are a machine. There's more number 20 jerseys still sold in Philadelphia than any other jersey.
Yeah.
God, that's crazy.
His passion, the way he played, and combine that with his faith, it was super impressive. For me to be able to talk with my teammates, and Jeff Thomason, he was a tight end with me. He always asked me about my missionary service in Taiwan and tell me those stories. I want to hear those stories. So we talk about Taiwan, and he'd say, "Man, shoot, I wish I went on a mission. That'd be so fun. I'd love to go to Tonga, you know.
know what I mean?
And so it was cool that I had teammates that respected me. Now, granted, that doesn't really work in football unless you can make plays. If you can make plays on the field, then you can have cool conversations in the locker room and off. But if you can't make plays, they're like, bro, you got to go.
Something weird about you.
Because the game is real. You gotta make plays.
Yeah. So it's that mutual respect of being able to excel, or at the very least hold your weight in what you're doing.
Yeah.
That opens the doors to who are you off the field. Because you gain that respect of the player first. Like, oh, he's supposed to be here.
Yeah.
Now you're in the fraternity and it's like, okay, well, let's learn more about you now. You've shown us you belong here in this locker room.
That's right.
So who is Chad now? I love that. That's awesome. Yep. Thank you for sharing.
Almost like Ammon, how he goes and does the work, and then because he
earned their trust.
Exactly. Yeah. Once he's able to do that, then he's like, people are like, okay, well, tell me more.
Yeah. Who are you?
Who you are?
You were thinking he was God. You know how good he was.
Walk it in.
So basically, you're the Ammon of the Philadelphia Eagles.
That's what we're trying to say.
Ammon's my hero. I can't wait to meet Ammon one day. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool. So you're being in this locker room and you got obviously so many different people coming from all over the nation and you guys are coming together. Was your experience, was there times where they knew okay, hey, we don't want to mess with Chad because he's a Mormon or he has standards different than us? Or how was that balancing? Did people kind of push you or try to press you into things, or did they kind of respect?
For the most part, respect. And there were times when I would just move out of the locker room, go in the training room. And if they were telling a story, I didn't want to stop them from telling their story or whatever. I just kind of, I'll disappear. I'm now in the training room getting treatment.
Slide over here real quick.
No problem.
But I tried to give them as much freedom to just be them and be my teammate and let them know I loved them and I wanted to go to battle with them. And we were in the foxhole together. And there's interesting things that happen in an NFL locker room. Like, as soon as the game's over, you have 10 minutes and then all the reporters come in, male and female. Yeah. And it's like, girl, I'm married. So a lot of times when that happened, it's weird. I would take my clothes and change in the locker room. Yeah. I mean, in the training room or something. So it's just kind of strange, but the locker room is a super interesting place.
Very much so.
And the huddle, and since we're talking football, is an interesting place. It's where you come together with a group of men for a common purpose and goal. And to be good, you have to become family.
Yeah.
And family is really an overstated family on three, family. Well, to be a real family, that's something that Andy Reid talked about all the time. And interestingly enough, at the first of every year, he would say, to be a family and to win a championship, we're going to be together every day for 7 months.
Yeah.
So I just want to remind you, you're all a little bit weird. So give each other some space to be you. It's okay. And there's 2 subjects we're going to avoid on this team: religion and politics. Those 2 things will divide us faster than anything. But at the same time, he allowed us to, if it was Brian Dawkins or Troy Vincent or Jeff Thomason, if someone has questions of faith, Andy wasn't running around like the Gestapo saying, I told you can't talk about faith.
Yeah.
He was man enough and a leader enough to know that we're men. We need to have real conversations.
Yeah.
But he didn't want those conversations to divide the team and to have wacky stuff going on in the locker room. And that's hard at any level: college, pro, high school, junior high. And it takes a leader with a gifted touch to be able to address that stuff appropriately. And he always could. And I felt like Lavelle at BYU always could as well. And they never did it to be a leader. They just did it like naturally. And I really appreciated that. So I was always careful in the locker room that I wasn't saying, there's a meeting at my house tonight, and I would like all of you to be there. It was a case that if someone had questions, I'd say, hey, you can come, we can talk about this anytime you want.
Yeah.
And sometimes it was challenging stuff like, hey, I heard all this stuff on polygamy. I'd say, hey man, let's just keep it to football. All right.
Yeah.
Oh man, I read all this stuff on the internet. I said, I know. But let's just keep it to beating the Giants. Is that cool?
what I mean? Like,
Okay, that's cool. So Andy gave us an out either way. And he also said, this is one cool thing as a leader of a football team. He said, you can always make me the bad guy. To the media or to anyone, if you don't want to talk about something, just reference me. Hey, Andy doesn't want us talking about that. Conversation can change.
Right.
And I thought that was cool that he said, let me be the out and let's focus on winning a Super Bowl.
Right.
That's awesome.
Cool.
That's awesome,
That's
man.
great.
So now in this age of, just to keep it with football, and now with your current career over at BYU, we're in this new age now with like NIL and recruiting is so much different than it's ever been. And college is different now for athletes, and there's a lot more now to think about when it comes to like the more heavily recruited athletes versus those like yourself who would end up maybe walking on to a team of any sport. What advice would you give all these young athletes who are juniors and seniors in high school now, getting ready to make that decision to either go to school or serve a mission before they go to school, especially for athletes who may not end up at BYU, because not every school necessarily is as accommodating as BYU obviously is with that faith-based choice. And I would say a lot of the schools in Utah are a bit more accommodating of it because it's Utah and that's a common thing. But outside of Utah, there's a lot of schools that look at you and they're like, you're just going to not do anything for 2 years and expect your scholarship to just be. So that's not always the best or easiest conversation to have, I guess. So what's your advice to those young athletes getting ready to make those decisions?
Now you're talking about the Red Sea.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So it's more important than ever for all these young athletes to have God in their life and to be able to trust God. And maybe it's the case that they go to school for a year and play somewhere, get themselves on tape and let people know, like, I got skills. I got more heart than you'll ever understand, because that comes out on the film. And maybe it's the case that people say, I'm going on a mission. And maybe they come back and play, or maybe they come back and say, I've got no desire to play football anymore. I know where I'm going in my life. But I think putting God first, and you can still play football, putting God first. Putting God first is the message. That NIL, scholarships, walking on, it's all the Red Sea. And we need the power of revelation, meaning we need to be able to hear and feel that God is really in our lives, helping us make those hard decisions. And I would say now that football is going all the way down to 105 roster spots, that any roster spot is way more valuable now than ever before. Teams and coaches are not allowing, there's just no room for development of guys anymore. Now they're just saying, hey, all these walk-ons I used to have, you got to go to junior college or something and prove that you can play, and then I'll bring your experience and let's go, because I only have 105 now. It's a different day, different game, and all that starts this year.
Good.
So we're seeing like tectonic shifts in college sports, and even more reason why we need to have God with us and close to us in our mind, helping us make good decisions, wherever we are. So it's tough for these kids. They're given a lot of challenges right now.
That stuff is crazy, because like I walked on at BYU too, and if it wasn't for that, like I probably wouldn't have played with with 105 roster spots compared to what was it, 120?
123.
123, yeah. I was gonna say.
And some teams, if they had more money, could go bigger. But now all of us are like 105.
That's
It's huge.
crazy.
This year, you're going to see. Think of all those people that are not on the 105 are now going to be in this cloud. That cloud is going to be chock full of people trying to get on
Somewhere.
rosters anywhere.
Yeah.
Wow.
And plus all the high school kids coming up, and they're going to be looking like, whoa, where do I go?
Us.
Yeah.
Holy smokes, it's happening right now.
And it's kind of sad. Honestly, I think it's kind of sad because there's so many success stories of walk-ons who have become great NFL players.
Mhm.
I mean, you're obviously one of them. The guy who went to Detroit from BYU, the defensive end, I'm forgetting his name.
Ziggy.
Ziggy Ansah.
He was a walk-on.
Yeah.
There's so many great stories of
He didn't
people.
start playing until like
Yeah.
his college
At
was his-
BYU.
He had to
yeah.
develop, right?
Yeah.
Tried to
Yeah.
play basketball, tried to run track. He's like, okay, I'll try football.
Yeah.
They gave him some pads, and he's like, what are these?
Yeah. He was a beast. But like,
Beast.
it's kind of sad that that's the way they're going. They're going. It's
know.
becoming more of like almost a professional sport now.
Yeah.
It is, yeah.
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 And instead of like a place for people to develop, and I'm kind of sad to see that. Like, I'm interested to see how universities navigate that. I think obviously junior college, like you said, is going to become a much bigger thing. More people will start to go there. And so it's interesting to see what's going to happen there, but it's kind of sad that the walk-on stuff is going to
Yeah, I know.
away.
That's weird.
Yeah.
The good thing about the change is that instead of just the coaches getting paid or the universities or TV,
Mm-hmm.
that the actual players who make it happen
Oh, yeah.
can share some of the revenues. They're the ones that are earning it.
Mm-hmm.
And
No more starving on campus.
yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Ramen noodles.
So now those guys can take me to lunch.
Yeah, exactly.
Straight up. Absolutely.
Could you just talk a little bit about, like the kind of behind the scenes recruitment process and what players can do to make it to that next level, especially those that are coming off a mission or, trying to transition from high school to college? What are you guys looking for, as a coaching staff?
That's a good question.
Specific players and stuff.
I know one thing Kalani's talked about is courage.
Mm.
He said, there's people that can run a 4.5 on a track. And when you put them on a football field, they run a 4.8 because they're scared. There's people that can run a 4.6 on a track or, by stopwatch, but you put them on a field and they still run 4.6 and they'll go through someone's chest because they have courage. And so he's trying to, within his culture, find a bunch of tough guys that want to go really hard.
Yeah.
And I want to jump to missions real quick. Missions have made it mandatory that you exercise every day.
Yeah.
And I don't think you need to go on a mission strong and come home like a flimsy weakling.
Yeah. Absolutely.
You have time every day to bust it.
True.
Even if your companion doesn't want to lift weights,
Right.
say, he wants to, dance. I don't know what he wants.
Shout out to all those guys dancing.
Shout out to the dancers.
That's right.
The CBs out there. There you go.
You have a chance every day. Like I told my son, you should be pass setting every day of your mission. Your legs should be like pass setting and getting in your stance. You should be lifting and jumping and I say that to golfers too. I would swing a club every day as part of your exercise.
Yeah.
So just don't let your athletic skills die because you're a missionary. You have time every day where you're the master of that 30 minutes, 1 hour, whatever they give you, to say, I'm going to get as strong as I possibly can right now. I've seen guys come home now like fully ripped because they've taken advantage of that time. And when they come home, it's easier for them to be plugged into junior college, major college, but can play again.
Yeah.
And I think that's great wisdom in the prophet to say, take advantage. You got to sweat every day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You got to that's so good for your health, your mental health. your everything,
Yeah.
like get out there and keep going.
Yeah.
Right.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And it's even better because President Nelson has a medical background, so he's just like, yeah, you need to sweat. I mean,
That's right. Get your heart rate going.
wow.
But it's good. That's good though. I love that advice.
It's really true. It's such great advice too, because it's like you have to. Your mission's to prepare you for your life,
Right.
and if you're not preparing, like as an athlete, if you're not preparing for what's coming after, then you're just wasting your time out there.
Yeah.
Set
I
yourself
think
up for
I
failure.
also think when you're on your mission, it kind of develops you to like your grit and your commitment too, because it's like if you're wanting to work out and stay in shape as much as you can, that means you're going to do anything and everything possible.
That's
to do
right.
it,
Yeah.
you know? And so if you really want this, you're going to do it even when you're away from the actual field.
If I was a high school baseball player and I was a tall left-handed beast that the Major League Baseball wanted to pay me $50 million to, and I wanted to go play, I wanted to go on a mission, I would use my exercise time to long toss to keep my shoulder like flowing so that when I came home, I was ready to like get back into it and go. I don't think there's anything wrong with that.
Not at all.
Not,
You got that time to exercise. Go for it.
Yeah.
God's going to make up the difference.
Always. I love that. What I think about that when I hear you say that is a mission. Here goes another opportunity where the mission kind of, like Mo was saying, shapes you for life. And if you take that time and you follow the advice that's been given and you do those workouts and things to keep yourself sharp, what it also does is it gives you 2 years of dedication to something that you know will serve you when you return home. And it allows you to further grow as a person to know, is this what I want to do? Because as a professional athlete, or even a collegiate athlete, especially if you're at a major college or a high level program, what you'll notice is routine is everything.
Mm-hmm.
You build the right routine, you build the right habits, those translate to the court, those translate to the field, those translate to the pitch. And that 2 years is the opportunity where it's just you, there's no one else to really learn about you. Do I have what it takes to commit to this long term?
That's right. I love
Because
that.
every coach is going to want to. It's real easy with a coach yelling in your ear to get, get down in the stance and do it a little harder, go a little stronger, and go a little longer. But what type of person are you? Are you the one that's going to do the work when no one's watching? Do you have that athletic integrity to do what's needed of you when no one's watching, to make sure you're the best version of yourself when you present yourself to that university? If you make it to the pros and you sign that contract, are you going to show up when you don't necessarily have to take those steps and further your career even more? And that's, like you said, when we started the conversation about the respect others are going to see. When you got to Philadelphia, they were able to respect Chad because he showed them every day on the field, in practice, in between practice, that he deserves to be here. Now we want to know who you are. And you're able to let that light shine because of the athletic and personal integrity you had as a person to say, I'm not just here to be here. This is what I want to do. And I'm going to do it no matter who's around.
That's cool.
This is who I'm going to be. And I'm going to act like this no matter who's around.
Right.
And that opens the door for people to want to know who's really Chad Lewis and to know more about it. So I love that you said that, because I think that's crucial. And then when you talk about athletes and the mental toughness of doing that, how did your faith in your particular case strengthen your mental game?
Yeah.
How did your faith strengthen your mental game when it comes to being a pro football player?
Great question, because the game is so challenging. If I'm going up against Michael Strahan all day, pack a lunch and a
Rough
snack.
day. It's a rough day.
Dude's a beast. So
Oh man.
I remember specifically before the NFC Championship game reading in the scriptures where God's saying, I give all these things will be for your experience and for your good.
Yeah.
It's not going to be easy.
Mm-mm.
And I remember just thinking, tomorrow, my life will be different. We'll either be going to the Super Bowl and my life will be different, or we're going home and it'll be different. And feeling the pressure of the game and feeling how much I needed my spiritual strength to carry my weak body, which I'm strong, I'm fast, I'm fit, I'm ready. But there's a mental game to our like physical bodies that we need to be just as strong as warriors.
Absolutely.
And I needed God to give me the confidence. I need my wife to give me the confidence. And reading the scriptures, going back to what you just said about routines, like that's our backbone. That's what we fall to, our routines. If we don't have routines, where do we fall? We just keep falling.
You just keep falling.
So if you have a routine, and for me, it's reading the scriptures every day, there's a floor there. There's like, I got this. I'm standing on something really, really strong. And then I could feel the presence of God close to where that feeling is everything. And if we go too long without that feeling, then we just start feeling like, shoot, where am I? Like, I don't know where I'm standing right now. I'm kind of like loose.
Yeah.
I don't want to be loose.
Absolutely.
I want to feel like I'm standing in line with a bunch of people going, this is where I'm going. So I love that you referenced it as routines. If you can build a routine when a coach isn't there making you do it, you become super tough. And then no one can stop you.
Absolutely. You know what? My wife and I both played college sports and then ended up coaching at high school level and other levels as well. So in both of us is that coaching experience, but also that player experience as well. And what we've always wanted to tell our players, our students, or whoever is like, basketball, volleyball, football, tennis, track, whatever you do, if you what it can do for you, especially at the high school, college levels, is it teaches you, one, how to interact with others, especially if it's a team sport. It teaches you what the collective unit can do if we all are on the same page and we're all willing to try for the next person. If I'm willing and we're on a teammate and I'm willing to have your back on the court, what that subliminally just teaches you about how you live with your friends and your family. I'm willing to be this for you when you slip up. In basketball, because that's what I played, we were defense first at every program that I was ever a part of. So whether I wanted to or not, by the time I got to the pro level, what I was going to hang my hat on wasn't my ability to just look at you and say, I'm going to get a bucket. It was my ability to look at you and say, you're not getting any buckets today. Yeah. And whatever buckets you get, it's going to be like your day with Michael Strahan. You going to earn every single one. I got 5 or 6 fouls, depending on what league I was in, and I'm prepared to use them all. Like you're in for a day, because that's what I'm bringing to the table. My job on the team was to make it hard for you to do what you're doing. And in that, it fed my offense. If I knew I could control what's happening for you and make your day frustrated, it solidified, oh, this is going to be a great day for me. Now my offense is a lot easier to get into because I know what I'm able to get done on the other end. And what we would always communicate to our team, our kids, is that sports is such a great analogy or metaphor for life. There's so many lessons that you can get out of athletics that you could apply immediately to your actual life. And the routine is one of them. Building a good routine makes you a better player because it builds good habits. Right. And when we get tired and fourth quarter comes and you've given everything you have and there's no sub coming because
sucking air.
There's no sub coming because the coach is not trying to risk the game, nor do you want to come out. And it's like, where do you pull from? When you get to that point, you fall to the habits. And if you've built that good routine, what you fall to is still good. And that's what makes good professional players such good professional players. Yeah. And to us watching, you didn't seem tired in that game, which I watched, by the way. I was watching those games, but none of y'all seemed tired per se. And it's just like, how are you able to still perform at such a high level after giving so much of yourself? And that's what athletics does. It puts you in front of the Red Sea. Lord, I've given everything that I can. As we're Moses, I just pulled thousands of people from the city, from Egypt. and we're trying to go where you said to go. And I'm looking at this literal ocean in front of us, and we ain't got no boats, and we can hear Pharaoh coming at this point. He's not far. What are we supposed to do? How am I supposed to do this? And you fall to your routine. At that point, it was a routine for Moses to speak to the Lord in a way that we know only prophets can, but the routine was go to God. Not figure something out, not send people out to go find wood in this place. It was like, God, what do we do? His routine was to involve the Lord. And I just love that you mentioned that and hearing that story of how the mental toughness and how your faith is what kind of carried you through that. So I really appreciate that. Sorry, that was really long-winded. But I just had to, I guess, give you your flowers on that, because as a coach, we try to communicate to our students, our players, every single time we step on the floor with them. Is just, this shapes who you are. And there's so many lessons that you can pull from it to make you the best person you can be. So thank you so much for that. I really appreciate it. Thank you.
There's got to be some cool algebra somewhere that shows a team might not be as talented, but when they tap into believing in defense first, they start to get stronger.
Yeah.
Like whatever they do as a team, they don't have to be the most talented before they become a bully.
Yeah.
And it's like, if you're going to score on me, you're going to have to earn this, baby.
Every single one.
And now that, man, look how strong it makes the team. So I'd love to have some smart whiz brain math dude like put together some cool
I
like
would love it.
algebraic graphic that I can be like, that's what I'm talking about.
That's why they say defense wins championship.
Right.
It is.
Yeah. Always.
Just because of that.
You got to earn it.
Someone's going to do some math for us and figure that out.
But I mean, I know at the pro level, you need skill to play every position on the field or on the court or whatever, but there's one thing that any player can bring no matter what your skill set is, and that's will. And nowhere is that showcased more, especially in team sports, than the defensive side of whatever it is you're doing.
Yeah.
When my will is just saying, I'm not going to let you do whatever you're about to do because you have control of the ball. You're going to need the skill to get around me, sure. But will can make everything you're doing the hardest thing you're ever about to do because I just have the will to say, I'm going to do whatever to stop you.
Yeah.
And if you can bring that quote unquote hard hat to it, you can make yourself into whatever type of player you want to. And the confidence and strength that you build from realizing the will that you have within you. I mean, like if you can do that on the floor, it tells you that you can do that in life. If my will is I want to pass this class, then I know that if I can put in the time to learn what I need to do to pass the test, to move on from there, to get that degree and be the first collegiate graduate in my family, to now set myself up to be an entrepreneur and have my own businesses now and not have to report to anyone else.
And you got 5 or 6 fouls, use them.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Don't give free layups or free dunks.
No, none over here. No, that was definitely one of my rules. Sorry, has a sidetrack.
That's not a sidetrack. That's the track.
So speaking of defense, maybe that wasn't existent. Let's talk about the Super Bowl for a second. I have a healing scab right now that's, and every time I talk about it, I feel like I'm ripping it off. Obviously, I'm a diehard Chiefs fan from the area. And so you and Andy Reid are good friends. And you
better than good. I mean, I talked to him all through the season, every season since I've stopped playing years and years ago. I love.
Awesome. Oh, really?
Yeah.
Man, so when there's been times with Andy Reid when you've played under him and you guys have lost a game, how does he talk to his team? How does he talk to his coaching staff? What is it like with that experience being under him?
It's remarkable, and he did it again in the Super Bowl. When they lose, he always says, and honestly, he'll say, "Hey, that's on me. I didn't do a good enough job coaching."
Ownership.
And as a player, you're like, "Coach, I didn't do a good enough job with what I needed to do." But he takes that every time, and if they win, every time he says, "Man, my guys played great. Patrick Mahomes, Kelsey, whoever they had an outstanding game." So that's number one. Like he takes the blame and he gives the credit. But I've never one time seen him lose his mind. I've never seen him after a tough loss. We just lost a division opponent, or we lost the NFC Championship. The first time we lost an NFC Championship game was to the St. Louis Rams. We had an amazing team, amazing defense, amazing offense. A third quarter in that game, they gave the ball to Marshall Faulk, I think 9 times in a row.
Oof.
And I talked to him at the Pro Bowl. I'm like, Marshall, dude, you turn into a machine. He's like, I get so tired, Chad, that I just go to this place in my mind. My teammates can see it, and I'm just like glazed over. I don't even know what I'm doing. I'm like, well, that's kind of freaky because human beings can't do that.
It is Marshall Faulk.
We came home from that game. The next day, I had an interview with Andy. My heart was cracked in half. I wanted to go to the Super Bowl so bad. And he was already pumped. And he said, our team, we're going to reload. We're doing it again next year. We're going all the way, which we did. We went back to the NFC Championship game. But his enthusiasm is second to none. This is the next morning. He's already thinking, and his gears are ripping, and he's just going full blast forward. That's how he was all the time. While he was doing that, he was also genuine. And he does so many things. That's why his team loves him. That's why people love him. And also, talking about the Super Bowl and what you were just saying about defense is maybe the first time in history a defense won without blitzing one time. So the Philadelphia Eagles came in like an absolute bully. Their offense and defensive lines were legit. They didn't blitz once. And that's going against Andy Reid, Patrick Mahomes, and what they've done. You know, they were on the cusp of winning 3 Super Bowls in a row. It's never been done before. That's a hard thing.
Right.
It was an incredible display. It was incredible. A lot of lessons. You say that, you know, sports, you know, is a great metaphor for life. And we live sports. We breathe it. We like, that's our language. That's our currency. Like, we speak it and feel it. And so, people that don't understand sports might watch this and be like, what are those guys talking about? That's okay.
It's life.
It means a lot. It means so much to us.
The adversities, you learn so much, and it's everything just transfer over into real life. You know, it just gives you that grit, teaches you how to just get through the hard times, you know.
And I think that's why, as parents, we are willing to dedicate the love of sports with our kids, to have them play and compete and listen to coaches. And there's something there that we value so much that we're willing to let our kids like go into that. And what I love about it is there's a lot of failures in sports. And there we are, real quick to pick up our kids and say, hey, it's okay. Dust it off, listen to your coach, and try harder. Don't make excuses. Just listen to what he's saying.
Right.
Yeah.
And the toughness in sports, like, just keeps you growing up in a way that I think is healthy. And there are times when it gets out of balance, and hopefully we have the perspective to
reel that back in.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But it's good.
I think that's important though, because, you know, we'll fall down in life, and my sports experiences have taught me to keep going. And I love that about Jalen Hurts, you know, him using that experience of losing to propel him to prepare more this year and to be able to win this. And so I think it's a phenomenal experience. And that's why I want my kids to play sports. I have a young son that's 3, and then a 6-year-old daughter who's not interested in sports, but I'm like, come on, let's play. But I want to see that. I want them to experience that for themselves. You know, I want them to have those losing and winning experiences. So
Definitely. It teaches you resilience.
Oh yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah.
I have a daughter, 6'1". She was playing, you know, basketball at Lone Peak High School, and she didn't really thrive on the competition or the pressure of it. That was like not what made her tick. And she married a guy, Chad Pollard, who's like, he is like fully into basketball, and his whole family. But Sarah came to us like after her sophomore year and was like, hey, I don't really want to do sports. I know I'm a Lewis, but I don't want to do sports. We're like, Sarah,
Come
you can
on.
do whatever you want. Like, we love you.
Yeah.
Now, if you play, then it just gives me a reason to get off of work, and I'm coming to your games and
Yeah.
we're praying for you. And it's kind of a fun way as a family, like, boom, we're all here for you.
Right.
But I get it. Like, if that's not your thing, we'll create that in other ways.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I think that's what's important too, because when you come from an athletic family, everyone is honestly, it's like, dude, you got the natural gift. You better play something. You better do something.
lot of pressure.
Right.
A lot of
You're 6'10" playing video games. Like, come on, man. So it's like you naturally want your children to do that. But I think there's also being able to have that space for your kids. Say, okay, if you don't want to do that, you don't have to. But I think for me, at least, I think it's the best way to approach it is like, all right, try it once, at least give it a try. And if you don't like it, you don't do it. But I'm not going to let you not approach it, or at least give it an opportunity, you know? Because I feel like there's some people out there just like, all right, you don't want to play it. I'm like, but you never know until you actually try, you know?
Yeah.
It's okay to try the hard things.
That's right. It's worth it to say, jump in the water, get going a little bit, give an effort, see for yourself.
I might make them try like 2 or 3 times.
I know, seriously. I think we've done that. I think we've done that with our kids at this point. They all want to do it because mom and dad played basketball. So at least basketball for sure. They've all expressed the excitement to want to try. But you can tell with my oldest daughter, she's 12 and she's doing AAU basketball, and she likes to play. So she's not going to be like, I don't want to play. But at the same time, she is fine not going to practice. 100% okay if we don't have games. You know, you don't really want to play, do you? No, I like basketball. I'm like, okay, all right. So moving on to the next one. Son, how are we doing? Like, just working our way down the ladder. But the reason why we want them all to get into sports when they're young isn't just because we want to hopefully get a pro out of it, like some people are. It's more so just sports just teaches you so much about life. It teaches you that you can do hard things. That's what my wife always tells our kids, especially when they're not giving the effort. And we've been their coaches as young as they are. We've had to step in, and we've been asked to step in because of our experience in it to coach. And we absolutely hate it because when we coach our kids, all they see is mom and dad. And my daughter responds to me well. My son, if I say it, it's like Satan said it. I'm doing the absolute opposite because it came from you. And I'm like, okay, so I know I can't coach my son.
Is this Junior?
This is Junior.
Oh, man.
I know I cannot coach Junior in life or sports, because if I say it, it's like something in him clicks and I got to do something other than what he said. I just have to. Or I got to figure it out on my own. But my daughter can listen to me. So my wife has my son's ear and I have my daughter's ear. So I coach her AAU team and my wife goes to his practices so that there's a positive, at least, response of just knowing, like, bro, we've been where you're going. So we have the knowledge to get you where you need to go. And that's just in sports. What we're trying to communicate to them through that is that's how life is. We're older than you. We don't want you to do it just because we want to shape your life. We're trying to give you advice because we've been where you're walking. And we would love for you to take our advice so that you don't necessarily have to have the same falls that we did. However, you're going to do that anyway. You're going to disobey us at some point and you're going to fall. But sports teaches you within yourself that when you do, you can get back up.
Right.
If you have a bad day, there is another coming. If you have a bad series, there's another coming. If you have a bad play with basketball, which is why we love basketball so much, is you don't have time to dwell on the turnover you just had, because what's happening the moment you turn it over? They are now trying to score.
Down your
you don't
neck.
have time to pout. You got to figure it out and make sure that this mistake doesn't compound as much as it can compound. And for life, that's so crucial because sometimes things hit us. We're have gone through or are currently going through different issues even right now in our own personal lives. And what I can speak for, especially from the brothers having conversations that we've had with each other, is athletics has taught us that we're more capable than we realize. Yeah. We can handle a lot more than we realize, but we also know who to go to get the next advantage from, whether it's our coaches, or Heavenly Father. When we've done all we can do, we know how to reach out and what the resource is to get to the next step is. Mm-hmm. And that's what we want to communicate to our children through sports is you can do hard things, never be scared of it, be ready to confront whatever the new challenge is with your whole self. And wherever you fall short or have questions, come to those you know who have the answer. And for life, spirituality, we use all that with our kids to just say, Heavenly Father is your spiritual coach. If you come to a point in life where you're not sure where to go to him. But more importantly, which is what you don't do with mom and dad all the time, is listen to him. When you hear something from God that doesn't really feel like it came from your own mind, but you know it's right, follow it. And watch him turn your life into something better. So I really do love that. And I definitely think sports has that way of just kind of communicating all those life and spiritual lessons to our kids. So I do love the fact that we push our kids into these things. And as they get older, they're going to know what they want to do. And if that's not sports, you can look at them and be like, that's totally fine. Yep. Yeah. Because all that's still instilled in you anyway. And you're going to take that wherever you go, son and daughter. Sure. So yeah.
That's sweet.
Yeah. Thank you. Chad, thank you so much for joining us today. Honestly, I
all the way around. Thank you.
Amazing conversation. We're able to just learn some more insights of behind the scenes of what it is to be in the NFL, learning grit, important submissions. If there's one thing that you would want to share with our viewers, either that's the youth or someone who's transitioning into the next level, what is something you would want to leave with them so that they can be able to have some inspiration to get to that next level?
I think the one thing that's most important is that God is in the details of our lives in a way that we cannot even comprehend. And he's closer than we can even imagine. My son Jeff went on his mission to the Philippines, and for 7 months he had a parasite. He lost 65 pounds, and we were praying and fasting that he would be healthy. We were praying and fasting that he would get moved into an area that had better food and water. And he ended up coming home halfway through his mission. Mission's 2 years. He came home at 1 year to get healthy. And he ended up getting a colonoscopy, and where they found a large polyp the size of a large marble, that was precancerous. And the physician said, he would have died in 5 years with stage 4 colon cancer, and you would have never had any symptoms. It would have just been game changer. Wow. And so my wife and I were like, all this praying we were doing for him, hoping that he would get better food and water, that was not the answer. Yeah. God wanted him to get sick enough so that he had to come home and get a colonoscopy, and he could say, that's why he's home. And we looked at each other and we're like, whoo. I'm so grateful that God is in the details of our lives. And I think when we get to heaven, we're going to know like instantly that he was with us all the way. And we're just going to fall to our knees and we're going to say,
thank you.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. Amen.
You took me where I needed to go. You guided my family. So I want every kid in the world, wherever they are, to know that God is in their lives. And they might be in some dark places. Yeah. They might be in some places of abuse or, some scary situations. And even in those places, I want every kid to still look to heaven and reach out and be like, God, I need your help. And don't ever stop calling for him or thinking about him. That's what I think.
Oh, man, I love that. That's who we need more than ever. Yeah.
No, I was just gonna say thank you. Of all the things that you have brought here with us today, all the insights that we've been able to receive from your firsthand experience in the world of sports, you have definitely brought the spirit and the faith to guide people towards the one thing, and that's our Heavenly Father and our Savior. So thank you so much for that. And I've been a listener and an observer in this
I've been
show
waiting for you to
today,
make
and I literally just been soaking it all in. You've definitely changed my perspective on just the locker room and how I've viewed professional athletes. You brought the humanized version to me personally, and how sports and growing up in sports have created these amazing and talented individuals. So thank you so much. I've learned a lot about myself. You know, I grew up playing basketball, and I got cut from eighth grade all the way up to my junior year, and finally made the basketball team my junior and senior year. And I've learned from those experiences how it's shaped my spirit now of just not giving up, you know, and I don't give up in the gospel. I may fall down, and that it's just taught me how that eternal principle of diligence plays, and sports truly shape not just our life, but our individual characters. And can truly help us become more like the Savior. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Love it. Thank you so much. That's cool. You're a warrior. You will never quit.
I won't.
That's right.
Thank
Ever.
you.
Amen.
That's cool.
Well, thank you so much, guys, for tuning in to Fourth Down in Faith. This is the Brothers in the Foyer series. If you enjoyed this episode and you felt inspired, you felt the spirit, please like, comment, and subscribe. And make sure to share this with someone you feel like who could be inspired by this. Either that's a youth that's making a decision on going on a mission, or if you got a Phillies fan that's out there, they definitely want to tune in to hear more about Chad and his experiences. So thank you so much for being here, and we'll see you guys on the next one. Take care.
I think I need to schedule a colonoscopy.
I